Hi everyone, Elliot Jacobson here, and today I want to tell you about a way you can beat Baccarat. And this is a 100% legitimate method. Now, it isn't about playing against the player, banker, or tie bet. Rather, it's a way of beating the most popular side bet available on Baccarat tables internationally. That's the pairs bet. The pairs bet is a simple bet, and all you are doing is wagering that the two cards dealt to the player hand, for example, will be a pair. Two aces, two threes, two fives, two jacks, whatever, a pair. And if it is a pair, that pays 11 to 1, otherwise you lose. There is also a pairs bet available on the banker hand, so you can make two pairs bets per coup, per hand of Baccarat. And yeah, that's as simple as it gets. So you can beat this bet, and there are ways of doing it that are legitimate, and there are ways of doing it that are cheating or nefarious. And both of those are employed in casinos. So let me just go ahead and show you the more nefarious choice. So this is a spreadsheet that tells you perfect play at the Baccarat pairs bet. This is exactly how to beat this bet 100%. So I'm going to go full screen here just to make this a little bit easier for you to see and explain what's going on here. So in this spreadsheet, we have a green area up here where you can choose the number of decks in the shoe. And then as the shoe progresses, you simply enter the number of cards of each rank you see after every hand in one of these locations. The sheet automatically updates with the cards remaining of each rank, and then it does a little bit of mathematics, and out pops the current house edge and the standard deviation. Now, I just want to give you a couple of examples of what happens here towards the end of the shoe. So let us, for example, just suppose we are in a perfect ideal world where exactly 28 of each card has been played, which is very, very unlikely, so that there are 4 remaining of each rank going into the last deck. Notice a house edge of 29% here, so the house edge is astronomical, but this is very atypical of how a shoe would normally progress. What we see instead is a far more ragged distribution of the various ranks towards the end of the shoe. So let's just suppose, for example, we have 30 of these and 22 of those. We have 30 queens having been played, but only 20 kings have been played. And notice just with that very simple change, we have a player edge. So the whole idea of beating the pairs bet is looking for those situations where you're towards the end of the shoe and you have a very ragged, uneven distribution of the ranks that are remaining. So notice what happens as I put cards back into the shoe. If I simply add one more king back, then the player edge is now only 2%. And here we have 11 kings remaining. So if I were to make this a 22 so that there's only 10 kings remaining, notice now we have a house edge. So this is very sensitive to very small changes towards the end of the shoe. And here we're more than one deck out. So you could imagine what would happen if we were down to, say, 20 cards left or 24 cards left in the shoe. So let me just show you what might happen. For example, if I were to really bring this down towards the end of the shoe, and we had one card that was more abundant than the other. So here, I'm trying to get this down to where we have under 25 cards remaining. So here we have 24 cards. Notice I have a 30% edge over the house in this situation. Now, why would I have such a huge edge? Well, the point is, look at how many 5s I have and how many 6s I have. So a pair of 5s or a pair of 6s becomes very, very likely. And you see these astronomical edges happen in the pairs bet. And that's why this thing can be beaten. All right, so you're going to want to play with this spreadsheet on your own. Let me just give you some of the subtext here, some instructions on how to use it, and it comes with a standard U unlicense, which is to say that I am releasing this into the public domain. So this is an as-is product, and use it at your own risk. So in my opinion, this particular spreadsheet is great for surveillance to use if they suspect a player might be using some sort of method of card counting, or might have a device on their person where they're doing some sort of computations. This would allow surveillance to double check whether a player is only making pairs bets with the edge. And if you happen to be playing at an online casino that offers the pairs bet, well, I hope all online casinos are aware that this wager can be beaten. So let me just then go and show you a little bit about an article I've written that explains how this thing works. So this is an article that is over at 888casino.com in my blog, AP Heat, that's there. And it's called Beating the Lucky Pairs Baccarat Side Bet. I will put a link to this down in the comments so that you can go directly to it. And in this article, I actually talk about the mathematics behind beating this bet. But what I want to show you is a simulation that I conducted here. Here's a simulation of using this perfect play spreadsheet against the pairs bet. And what we see is that on average per shoe, if I put the cut card at 14 cards, we're getting about 1.73 on average hands per shoe where I can make a wager. But the remarkable thing here is that the average edge I'm getting over the house when I use this calculator is about 10.8%, which is a huge edge. We're winning 0.375 units per shoe. However, the pairs bet internationally has very large table maximums. I've seen table maximums of $5,000 or more at some Asian casinos. So when we start talking about winning 0.37 units on a $1,000 bet, that's $375 per shoe that we're winning. So this can really add up quickly given the sheer magnitude of the size of the wagers you're allowed to make. Now, in this article here, I also give a card counting system. So let me just go full screen here to give you a little more detail on this. So I call this system targets and weights, and this is my own idea. I'm not saying there isn't a better idea out there, but it involves memorizing two tables of data, and this is the first table that one would have to commit to memory, and here is the second table that one has to commit to memory. So if you can figure out a way to memorize these two tables, then you can actually get the mechanics down to beat this just by using a card counting system in a casino. I think if I were to judge, this is about the same amount of work as becoming a proficient blackjack card counter, but it is a lot more profitable and a lot more discreet. And I've also done a simulation here so that you can see roughly, in this case, we're making, because we're using a card counting system that's slightly less accurate, we're making 1.4 bets per shoe with an average 11.6% edge over the house, and making about 0.329 units per shoe. Again, with the $1,000 wager, that's $329 per shoe. So this is a tough system, but it is human feasible, and given that this is such a vulnerable side bet, I certainly think that it is something that anybody who is looking for an edge should consider. And from the casino side, I think it is very worthwhile, considering that somebody who is making pairs bets only late in the shoe, the last deck or later in a shoe, may very well be using some sort of methodology, whether it is a calculator on their smartphone or someone outside the casino, they're texting and is doing the calculations on a spreadsheet very much like this one, or they're using some sort of card counting method. People who are making this wager late in the shoe are definitely worthy of consideration. Okay, you can download this spreadsheet at my website, advancedadvantageplay.com. You can read this article. I will link to it down below and also from my website. And one more thing, why don't you just go ahead and subscribe to this channel, Advanced Advantage Play. I very much appreciate that. All right, everyone, this is Elliot Jacobson. See you later.